with great power comes great responsibility, right? Nobody needs to be that worried. You can think of these tools as just really smart interns, and we'll figure it out. And to me, that always felt like maybe an overly simplistic or overly dismissive response to something that is truly we've never seen before in terms of the power and disruption that's coming down the pipeline. Welcome to the official CultureCon podcast, where we explore how work actually works.
We're your hosts, Zach Blumenfeld
and Nick Lombardino.
Whether you're leading a team, shaping culture, or just passionate about making work more meaningful, you're in the right place.
Each episode will bring you stories, insights, and bold ideas from people who are building better workplaces and better work experiences.
The official CultureCon podcast starts now.
The inaugural AI Summit is in the books.
In the books. We did
Holy
it.
smokes, dude. Our first topics-specific conference we've ever had.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was, well, here, how about let's tell the story about how this conference even came to be. So every year we do an annual poll within our CultureCon community to ask, what are specific workplace culture topics that we can put more emphasis around with our programming. And to the surprise of no one, AI was at the very, very top of the list. But that in and of itself, I don't think made us think, hey, we should do an AI specific conference. What I remember is me and you doing a full day kind of strategy retreat in Madison at the Concourse Hotel. And I'm pretty sure it was you driving into Madison being like, hey, I think we should probably have like an agenda for the day. And it's always you, dude. It's always you keeping us organized on those days, because I just fantasize about where we're going to have lunch and go to dinner and everything gets derailed.
Well, that's what those strategy sessions are. It's like 30 minutes of work and then maybe the hot tub, the sauna, the steam, a nice lunch buffet, and a little more work maybe. Yeah, that's the agenda.
I'm laughing because it's so true. Oh my gosh. So, okay. So yeah, you're like, well, let's get an agenda. And then we're like, okay, great. Let's, jump onto ChatGPT and ask what a meaningful agenda would be. And it spits out, there was one particular line item that said, have a portion of the day dedicated to kind of new products and services development. And I remember you and I looking at the agenda together and just being like, okay, let's just ask it. So then we're like, great. What are some ideas for new products and services to develop? And in a very self-indulgent way, ChatGPT recommended that we do a conference all about AI. And I know in the moment, you and I think we felt both like a little bit embarrassed that we had to ask ChatGPT to like recommend that to us. But I know both of us were feeling resistant to wanting to do a topic-specific conference on AI, despite knowing that that was pretty high up on our community's rankings for specific programming. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I know my hesitation had more to do with not wanting to feel like we were jumping on the bandwagon of AI. And if we were to do it, I didn't want the program to feel, I'm just going to go out and say it. I didn't want it to feel rose-colored glasses. I had been of the mindset that, to quote the philosopher Uncle Ben from Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility, right? And I was just feeling like, to the extent that I was listening to presentations that had to do with AI in the future of work, a lot of the time it was just like, nobody needs to be that worried. You can think of these tools as just really smart interns, and we'll figure it out. And to me, that always felt like maybe an overly simplistic or overly dismissive response to something that is truly we've never seen before in terms of the power and disruption that's coming down the pipeline. So all of which to say, what got both of us excited about this conference was equal parts, how do we create a program that talks about how these revolutionary tools can help us feel more connected and productive and creative at work, but then also kind of get more into the theoretical and talk about, what are the societal implications of these tools moving forward if we don't have personal accountability to how they're consumed and developed and deployed. So it's kind of that onus on us as individuals in ensuring that how these tools are consumed, we are moving forward in a way that feels morally and ethically sound to the extent that we can control it. And that's what got me excited.
Well said. Yeah, me too. And I think, I've been to conferences over the past year that have been overrun by AI. And I think one thing we were intentional about is we didn't want AI to just overrun all of our events. And so having it kind of siloed out in its own summit, we can still talk about a lot of the other important challenges and topics at, CultureCon this summer and CultureCon West. And you and I are just very passionate about this topic. We're very deep down the rabbit hole of AI. And I think sometimes, at least me, I think both of us takes a kind of a doomsday approach sometimes. So it was nice to hear from both speakers and attendees, like both sides of the AI spectrum of like, hey, this is gonna like save humanity, this might end humanity, and then a lot of people were in the between trying to figure it out. So I hope for the people that were in between, we gave them, some hope and an optimistic outlook on the AI topic in general and how there is so many positives that can help enhance work and help, keep work human, as we said a lot at the conference.
Totally, dude. And I can only speak for myself. I got a good dose of hope at the conference. And like you say, I definitely trend more towards, let's just say, the pessimistic outlook.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And what the conference helped me, let's just say come back more towards center, if not hopeful, was just like the people in the room. What I was concerned about was that too many of us, our heads are buried in the sand and we are barreling towards a future that doesn't have any intentionality or plan on how these tools are going to be leveraged and used. And we don't have enough personal accountability towards ensuring that it's a bright future. And what I found at the conference was so many people had that thought in the back of their minds. So, as much as it was about them using these tools at work, they were already thinking about it from a societal and economic standpoint. And I had so many great conversations with individuals talking about, the environment, societal inequities. And even though those are like really heavy and scary topics, my excitement went through the roof because I was like, this is great. This is so great that people are actually thinking about this stuff. And that's where all of my concerns were coming from previously, is it just felt to me like those types of things weren't being talked about, or at least not in my like social orbit. So that got me like so much more hopeful.
Yeah, me too. I had some really good conversations with attendees about those same topics. And then on the flip side, though, I was surprised, like a lot of the Q&A after speakers were done, like I heard multiple times questions asked to speakers and just in conversation with attendees, the question of like, hey, how do I get my leadership bought into using AI? Which was kind of scary to me that, we're in May 2026 and leadership is against AI or not using AI. Like, if you're not using AI right now, you're not going to be a leader in a year from now or 6 months from now. You may not have a company a year from now. So that was kind of alarming to me, but I hope that was kind of the minority of the conversation.
That like I had that learning too. And there's a lot of things that you and I take for granted being a two-person company and what we can play with and experiment with. But just like you said, I was taken aback by how many companies, at least right now, have massive barriers into even being able to experiment with some of these tools. These are industries that are heavily regulated, right? Whether it's insurance or financial services, like there are so many security protections and barriers for these organizations to be able to experiment, and probably for good reason. But then it just gets the ball, you just start thinking about it. Like you said, it's like if you're not using these tools yesterday, you are risking the future viability of your business because of how much productivity and frankly like creativity can be generated from it. So the visual of that for me was our closing speaker, Satu Selminian from Zoom Info. She had a session where she had the attendees, both virtual and in person, had to self-select into specific groups that had to do with their organization's AI maturity level. And I think the three categories were, the first one was explorer, the second one was practitioner, and the third one, which was kind of the most advanced, was architect. And so the first category, the explorer, had the least amount of people in it. And from the people that were in it, from what I could tell, those were people that were in like heavily regulated markets and industries. And then the second tier, the practitioners, had the most people in it. So those are people that are like using it to some degree, experimenting with it. You're using it personally, professionally, but to the extent that their organization is like fully deploying it, they still have a ways to go. And then the architect group, which was only a close second behind Explorer, like these were people that had organizations that were like all in, that were pretty much saying like, if your team is not using this, we got a problem. And they're like building shit, right? They're Claude coding and creating apps to like help their business run. And if you would have asked me what I thought the makeup would have been prior to the conference, I wonder what I would have guessed. I would not have guessed so many people being in the architect category.
Right.
That one was
Yeah.
like, holy cow. Yep.
Me neither. Yeah, and I was, I'm interested to see like because we're obviously bringing back the AI Summit next year. What like if we did that again a year from now, what would that be like? Would there be more people in the architect, like the super advanced users, or is AI going to grow so fast that everyone's kind of in the middle, still trying to figure it out? I mean, who knows what it's like a year from now?
Right, that's the thing. At the conference, we talked about it. It's difficult to even extrapolate where these technologies are gonna be in just 6 months from now. And we got hanging on the horizon tech that we just can't believe is real. We're talking about things like, is it conceivable that in the next 1 to 2 years, there will be virtual environments that people go into by virtue of, products like Oculus or whatever, where they're like, you're working with virtual teams on a daily basis in a way that feels like you have more physical connection.
Or is it just a bunch of AI agents just working with each other?
It's exactly what I was going to say too. And then there's the whole like agent thing, autonomous agents, and how are they working together or with you and your team? And this sounds really far-fetched, but it's actually not that far off. I just saw a video come through one of my feeds of like this at-home cleaning robot that like looks like it looks like a human in the sense that it has like legs and arms, and it's out there vacuuming and like dusting down the bookshelves and taking the trash out, and it's already for sale. It's coming like, I think they're going to start shipping in like a year from now. So that's another mind bender. It's like, how much further down the road are we going to be seeing like literal robots on the factory floor or even in the office doing stuff? So to your point, there will be no shortage of things that we have to talk about and explore at future events. But like that's the thing. It's like sky's the limit. Like science fiction now is just kind of becoming science fact, and that's wild.
It's like the Jetsons. And I mean, here's a good example. I was getting my haircut yesterday. Shout out to Great Clips. They're not a sponsor of this show, but they should be because look at that haircut, 25 bucks, can't beat it. But I'm sitting in the chair and I'm sandwiched in between two software developers. When I get my haircut, I just like to go in and out, some pleasantries, but not a whole lot of conversation. But the two people next to me were like deep in conversation. Both were software developers, both talking about AI. And the person to my left was kind of taking more of a pessimistic doomsday approach to the conversation. And it was because his company just rolled out a mandate that they have to be using AI. It's what they're being graded on, and they're actually training AI to do their jobs. So this guy was like, I have to do this, otherwise I'm probably going to get fired, and I'm doing it to probably get fired too. So he's like, I don't know what to do. And then the hair cutter was talking about how she just watched a video of a robot, kind of to your point, a robot that was trained by AI that can cut hair. And she was like, probably a year from now, they're going to roll this out. And it was like having trouble like getting around the ears, but like besides that, it was pretty good, she said. So she's like, you're a software developer at risk of losing your job. I'm a hair cutter at risk of losing my job. This is the future. And then the software developer to my right kind of leaned over and he's like kind of getting in the conversation. His hair cutter like pulled him back up, is like, please don't move your head while I'm cutting your hair. But he kept leaning over and trying to talk to them. And his approach was, he said something like, I'm not going to worry about a future that's not here yet. So very like opposite side of the AI worrisome spectrum, but also like I didn't like that. And then I kind of got in the conversation too, because we just had this AI summit. It was sharing stuff. So it was really interesting at a great clips on Ashland and Chicago. The AI conversation was really getting deep.
Dude, team great clips. I grew up team cost cutters.
Oh, nice. Very
Um,
good. Very good.
Now I cut my own hair. No, I mean, there is something to be said. What's the cliche? Like, only focus on the things that you can control. So on the one hand, I feel like that other guy that was in the conversation. What did he say again?
He's like, I'm not going to worry about a future that isn't here yet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think there's some validity to that sentiment. At the same time, I don't think there should be like willful ignorance towards something that has a lot of weight to it. And I think that's the balance, right? Is like how much personal accountability and information am I willing to consume as an everyday person to feel like I'm being, this sounds so cliche, but like a global citizen, right? Like what are the things that I can do to help carve out a path that's putting humanity on the right trajectory, but not at the detriment of me feeling like I'm stuck in fear-based mode all the time. And I don't have any answers for that, but that's just the space that I'm trying to live in because it's wild out there, dude. It's
It
wild.
is. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't agree with just kind of sitting back and, not worrying about a future that's not here. I love what you said about like, there's only so much we can control, but I just think about like if I didn't adopt email or the internet or SaaS or cloud technology, like where would I be in my career, in my life? Like, so I feel like there is a happy middle ground. But yeah, it's moving so fast. I mean, if you're not in the conversation now and choose to jump in 3 months from now, I mean, you could be way behind your peers. And we think about AI taking over the workforce and jobs. If you're not up to speed, you may not have a chance at some of these roles because you don't know how to utilize AI. I was doom scrolling last night and I saw a video as a clip from Ashton Kutcher, who you wouldn't think like AI, but his fund was one of the early investors in OpenAI. He's turned like 30 million into over $1 billion, so a pretty good investment. And he was saying, forget the exact quote, but it was something like he was talking to someone at OpenAI or someone that's pretty high up at an AI company. And he said that we are less than 1,000 days from one of these models going hyperbolic. And he said something like, imagine an AI tool doing, I think it was something like 25,000 years of work in a second. Obviously, I don't think it's going to be like that in a couple of years, but imagine an AI tool being able to just train itself and train itself and train itself over and over and over again. And we're not that far away from that. Like that, that just puts it in perspective. Like
Dude,
even if it could do a fraction of that, what does our world look like in that situation?
that is so wild. Well, I've brought this up, I think, on a past podcast, but we use LLMs all the time. In like the early days, we were using ChatGPT. Now I mean, you've been building some crazy stuff with Claude, but what I've come to notice about myself, which I'm not proud of, is since I'm using these tools every day, I have gotten, I don't wanna say like, addicted to immediacy isn't even doing it justice. Like, I to give you an example, I could be in the process of writing out a question to an LLM, and I will be feeling frustrated that I haven't even gotten the answer yet, and I haven't even written the question out. And then, like, sometimes when the information is rendering, I'm like, "Come on, let's go. Come on. I need it faster, 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 faster." And it's like, "Oh my gosh, how quickly did my brain change in a relatively short amount of time where, like, just thinking about the question isn't fast enough for me." And I'm like, "Whoa, that's I have a hard time finding silver lining in that makeup." So I gotta, I gotta do what I need to do to find the healthy balance of still using these tools, but do it in a way that's not completely messing up my neurochemistry and being able to be present in the moment. So that's just a reflection I've had recently.
Yeah, and I feel the same way, and that's why I think I've noticed ChatGPT is like if I'm just using it as kind of like a thought partner, Google search replacement, it's like a little quicker than Claude in its responses. So like if I'm doing deep analytic works, looking over data or spreadsheets or coding with Claude on apps, that's like when I'll use Claude. But if I'm using it for like quicker back and forth, I use ChatGPT because I think it's like a little faster in its response, but I still find myself waiting like, okay, I see you typing, but I would just want the full answer right now. So yeah, it's something I struggle with too. Is like we're talking milliseconds here, but it's making me anxious.
That's the perfect word, dude. Yeah, there's an anxiousness. There's an anxiousness that is underlying it. What's the saying? The first step towards change is awareness, right?
Yep.
And I feel like whether it's me and you talking about these reflections that we're having on a personal level or being in community at our conference with all these people leaders who have an awareness around the power of these tools, the hope behind these tools, but also some of the heavier, weightier, scary things. Just the fact that there's an awareness and we're starting to talk about it more and more makes me feel way better.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like something that really stuck out to me, maybe my key takeaway from the entire AI summit was similar to pretty much every conference we have. Like people come to a CultureCon event, they are amazed by the awesome speakers we have and the learnings, but it's really about the connections. That's the heart of the experience. The people you meet turn into colleagues, they turn into lifelong friends. You see them at other events, you see them outside in the community. So that's really cool. And I was kind of curious, like, is that going to carry over to the AI summit or is it going to be something a little different because of the topic and the way the world is right now? But scrolling through the attendee survey data, talking to people at the event, looking at everyone's LinkedIn posts, yeah, there's some like cool learnings and awesome speakers, obviously, but the majority of the LinkedIn posts and the comments and the conversation I had were about the people, someone they connected with, colleagues that they hadn't seen or hadn't met before in person, and they meet at the event for the first time in real life. And I think that was really assuring to me is that even though we're talking about this crazy technology that is going to absolutely change the way we work and live in the world in general, that still connection was the heart of the experience. And I do think like AI is going to replace most of our skill set in the next year or couple of years, but it's that like creativity and connection, those people skills, the like 20% of your skills that it's not going to replace are going to be exponentially more valuable. And I think if we kind of focus on using AI as a thought partner and a tool to help us with those, that's kind of the silver lining for me is let's try to build more connections, more creativity in the world and use AI to do that.
Dude, that feels like a pretty good mic drop closeout for this episode. Thank you for anchoring us to something positive and practical. Because Nick would have just taken us to Blade Runner.
We could get
2027.
there pretty soon. Before we end every episode with some shout outs. So I know I'm putting you on the spot here. Any shout outs you want to give from the AI Summit?
I do have a shout out. We had a guy come from Hong Kong to the event. Long Wang was his name, and what I appreciated so much about him being with us, aside from the fact that it's like a 20-hour travel day, he brought so much positivity and joy into the room, and quick to want to say thank you, quick to want to be able to share his own lessons learned and tools with our community. And I was just like floored, I guess. Like, not floored. We have a lot of attendees that have a very similar approach to the conference, and joy and curiosity and positivity. But the fact that he had just heard about us a few weeks earlier, and based on kind of the approach to how we like programming, he made the call to come check us out. And I'm so glad he did. So shout out Long Wang.
Shout out to Long Wang. Yeah, it was awesome to have him all the way from Hong Kong at the event. That was pretty mind blowing to me. What a flight. I want to give a shout out to David Carr, all the way from Ireland, by the way of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Seriously, it was such a pleasure chatting with him and the whole team. They brought a whole team from AE Betancourt, and they were all so engaged. I think like two of the top three Cove connectors were from that company. But yeah, I had a great time talking with David and others at that company, and just great people and really interested in the conversation, really engaged. So yeah, shout out David Carr. I also want to give a shout out to Rick, the best bartender in Madison, and the whole concourse team. Michael, Mary. Our business would not be the same without hosting these events at the concourse. They're just amazing venue, amazing people, the nicest partner we could have in a venue for
The
sure.
best, dude. The best. That's a great shout out. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for these AI reflections. We'll still have much and more to talk about in the years to come. So if you have any specific AI topics or angles you'd like us to lean into, find us on LinkedIn, shoot us a DM, and we'd love to chat. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
That's a wrap on this episode of the official CultureCon podcast.
If you got something out of it, share it with a friend, a teammate, or a fellow culture geek.
And don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode.
And if you want more ways to stay connected and inspired, check out our upcoming events page for a full listing of webinars, workshops, and conferences.
You'll find the link in the show notes, and we'd love to welcome you to a CultureCon event soon.
Until next time,